Okay, friends. Welcome everyone to NMBF Coffee Chats. It's a discussion forum where we discuss topics, issues that affect our daily living. And anger is one such topic that we encounter at every turn, perhaps in many relationships also. And we have also read in papers, we also always keep reading about, road rage. And, I think recently there was an incident where a man dashed his car into his father's car, and that was, and there was just so much rage within him. And it's so important for us not just to think about these big dramatic incidents, but also reflect upon our own lives and think about how anger may be creating havoc in our own lives. So we are thankful to God. We are thankful that Dr. Sheryl is with us this evening to lead us in this session on anger management. Just a bit of introduction about Dr. Sheryl. Dr. Sheryl John Senthil Nathan is an eminent psychiatrist born and raised in Mumbai. She's a celebrated speaker on mental health. She has a thriving psychiatry practice as she consults at Dr. L.H. Hiranandani Hospital, Powai, and Holy Spirit Hospital, Andheri East. Dr. Sheryl specializes in treating young adults, women, and families. She completed her MD Psychiatry from the esteemed Medical Institute of Mumbai, Lokmanya Tilak Municipal Medical College and Hospital. Completed the training in the Kharkov method of counseling from St. Xavier's College and did an online training module in DPT under Marsha Linehan, USA. She's on the board of trustees of FIAMC, which is the International Federation of Catholic Medical Associations. She was the honorary treasurer of Bombay Psychiatric Society. A passionate advocate of community mental health, she wants to promote mental health awareness and contribute towards destigmatizing mental illness and conducts various talks across the length and breadth of the country. She's an invited speaker at both national and international conferences. So we are so glad, we are so thankful to have Dr. Sheryl in the midst of us. And let's dive into this session. So over to Dr. Sheryl on this very crucial topic of anger management.
Pastor, for having me here today. Good evening, everybody. I'm just going to first share screen. My screen is visible?
Yes, yes, it is.
An introduction that you gave in about anger, and let's understand what do we mean by anger. Just one of the various emotions that we feel. So first comprehend that is anger good or is it anger bad? Is it one of the emotions? I mean, where will you place anger in your life? People will tell us, right? Anger management means you master the mind. Ask you, and one of you can just probably unmute yourself and tell me that if I have to ask you that, yes, manage your anger, that means it master your mind. So, where is this mind?
Yeah, anyone, any response?
Mind is the software of the brain.
But so we have to understand there is actually nothing known as the mind. But I think very beautifully put that it is the software of an important organ known as the brain. So the connections in our brain are responsible, and I always say the connections in the brain are responsible for our mood, for our thinking, for our emotions, and for our behavior. And that's a good thing because brain is a physical organ. Now, if I want to, let's say, start running a marathon in January, let's say the Standard Chartered Marathon in January, I have to start training from today. If I start training and build my muscles, I will be able to run the marathon. In the same way, if we are able to work on the circuits of our brain, we'll be able to manage some of our emotions. And all emotions are normal. So it's okay to be angry, it's okay to be sad, it's okay to feel disgust, it's okay to be fearful about something. Told that, no, you must be happy all the time. And is it possible for us to be happy all the time? No. So understand that anger is a common emotion. Manage it. Think we need to manage anger if we are thinking that anger is a common emotion.
We are losing you.
Yeah, we are not able to hear you,
We're
Dr.
losing your
Sheryl.
voice.
Dr. Sheryl, we can't hear you. Can you hear? Yeah. No, no, we can't hear you. No, no.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Is it clear?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So I was asking you that if you're thinking that anger is a common emotion, why do we need to manage it?
Yeah. Anyone?
Because it is destructive to our health.
Okay, very good. What else?
It's a negative emotion.
Correct. So
It
what
not only impacts us negatively, but also those around us.
so
It
though
can give a heart attack.
it can give you a physical change, it can give you a heart attack.
Yeah.
Yes.
In the chat, it says damages our health and relationships.
So just a second. Though anger is a common emotion and it's okay for us to feel angry because we're supposed to feel positive as well as negative emotions. The problem is the intensity of our anger. When the intensity of the anger increases, is when we have to be cognizant that how do I kind of change it? Now I need to manage it better because, like you correctly said, it will impact not just us, it will impact people around us, it damages relationships, it can give you a heart attack. When we are talking about anger as an emotion, and I was telling you how emotions are part of your brain, right? So, what do we mean when it's part of our brain? It means that when you're having a trigger which causes you to feel angry, what gets activated in your brain is something that we call as a fight or flight response. So if something that I perceive as uncomfortable or something that I perceive as dangerous, then I can either want to run away from that situation. So I'll activate a flight response, or the fight response gets activated. Now, when my fight response gets activated, I can have an angry meltdown, I can have a tantrum, and my emotions go out of control. What are the things that can cause this fight and flight response? Suppose you're exposed to intense sensory stimulation, a lot of, overwhelming traffic, lot of sounds, lot of light happening around you. If you're exposed to bright and blue tone light, can you tell me where would you see this bright and blue tone light? Anybody?
Anyone?
Ambulance?
No, the bright and blue tone light is our screen light. When you're watching our gadgets all the time, that's a bright and blue tone light. When you're multitasking or you're having a lot of interactions at a rapid pace, if you're exposed to electromagnetic radiation, if you're having a lot of screen time, these are the things that can activate your fight and flight response. Now, though we view anger as a single emotion, it is not one emotion. I am not concerned as much if I am annoyed or I am frustrated or if I am upset. When does it become a problem? It becomes a problem when I'm irate, when I'm furious, and I'm unable to control my emotions. So it's a spectrum which moves from annoyed to being enraged. So when we're looking at the anger spectrum, just look at it. It can be subtle anger, where I'm very dismissive, I'm acting very stubborn, I'm huffing under my breath, I'm rolling my eyes. A lot of these rolling, the subtle anger can be seen in teenagers who are trying to exhibit their anger towards us as parents. Or sometimes we're very defensive or impatient or disappointed. The loud anger is what we are, when Abhijit Pastor was talking about in the beginning, how it's become very obvious now, where we are having verbal abuse, we are banging cars into each other, we are having racist comments, we're intolerant to each other, whether it's religious intolerance, whether it's political intolerance, whether there is the road rage. So anger can be a spectrum, and we have to kind of see which part of the spectrum my anger belongs to. Like I asked you and you told me, yes. So anger can cause a lot of mental health issues. It can increase your anxiety, it can cause frustration, it can cause fear, it can cause relationship issues. Right? I mean, you can just imagine in situations or relationships that you have been, which have grown apart or which have not worked very well just because one or the other person in that relationship was not able to regulate their anger. So it can be estranged siblings. It can be family members fighting over something that they didn't agree about years ago, and still we are estranged because anger came into the play. The way we reacted with each other when we had that conversation about, let's say, that land in the village, or the way that somebody behaved during a wedding. So, relationship issues like quarrels, misunderstandings, resentments can happen when anger comes into the play. We also block a lot of positive. We block financial abundance, we block success, we block receiving love and affection from people around us. And it can, of course, cause a lot of physical situations, hyperacidity, metabolic issues, diabetes, blood pressure, weight gain, headaches. So, this is what anger can do to us. A new form of anger on social media. And this is now becoming more and more common. Do you know why? Anybody?
Anyone? Why is anger increasing on social media?
Because of the negative news that we consume.
Yes, we consume a lot of negative news.
They'll not get caught.
We don't get caught. So I can post a lot of things anonymously. So I'm really angry with Pastor Abhijit, and I will open an account and then I will post nasty things about him. And I will take out my frustration about something else on him. But Pastor Abhijit doesn't know who is putting those things. I'm doing it anonymously, and that's evoking anxiety in him. So a lot of times people are able to post anonymously. You see in WhatsApp groups where somebody will be posting a small comment and suddenly everybody is pouncing on that one person, right? Because we're becoming very, very intolerant of each other. And the anger in our personal emotion is spilling out in different ways. So this is, now we know why anger needs to be addressed, because it's kind of causing all these problems. Let's look at some of the strategies for anger management. Can the audience share with me what would they do when they get angry? Some of your go-to things when you get angry.
Counting backwards.
Okay, counting backwards.
Take deep breaths.
Isolate yourself.
Isolate yourself.
Close your eyes and drink water.
Close your eyes and drink water.
Take deep breaths.
Take deep breaths.
There are some responses on the chat as well.
Yeah, somebody said time out, drink lot of water, walking out of place. Very nice. So we know most of the things that we need to do. But usually what we do when we get angry, we act out. So I become aggressive, or I'm like, I'll teach you a lesson now. So we become vengeful. Or we are complaining and blaming others for the situation. Sometimes if I'm not able to regulate my anger, then I can kind of resort to using alcohol and other drugs to calm myself down. Sometimes we can just ignore the situation. The situation needs me to address it. Situation needs me to solve it. Let's see, I'm having a young adult in my house, or my 23-year-old son, who is not completing his studies, who's not being responsible. And I'm getting extremely angry. But I'm saying, no, if I interact with him, it's going to lead to a bigger problem. I'm just going to walk away and I'm going to ignore that the problem exists. Sometimes we wait for others to help us with our anger. But these are things which sometimes seem to be effective in that time, Or I'm just ignoring the situation, I'm just complaining about it, or I'm just screaming. But it's not helpful in the long run. So we need to see, how do I manage my anger in the long run? So if I want to find out how do I manage my anger, you have to dig for the exact cause of your anger. Anger is an emotion, a feeling. That's what you're experiencing either as an emotion or the changes in your body. So can you tell me, what are the changes in your body that you can perceive when you're angry?
A headache,
Headache.
high
blood
BP,
pressure goes,
Sorry?
blood
heartbeat
pressure
increases,
goes.
Heart rate increases, blood pressure increases, your
Shivering
hands
of
and legs,
shivering of the body, madam.
the body becomes tight. Now, these are all physical symptoms. Or anger, you feel angry as an emotion. You have to look back and what is the thought behind that anger? Because you cannot change the feeling. You can only change the thought and then the feeling will change. So you have to first find out what is the reason that I'm angry. Am I scared about something? Am I insecure? Am I stressed about something? Because what we are looking at is only the tip of the iceberg. It can be multiple things. If you're looking at, for example, your spouse or your friend who's angry, it could be actually that person who's just hungry and has come back home hungry, and then because you're asking a simple question, the person is screaming and shouting at you. Not that the person is angry with you, but because he or she is hungry, is reacting in a particular way, or is very exhausted, or is embarrassed about something, or is hurt about something. The projection of all those thoughts can be anger as an emotion. So, the first step, if I want to learn to manage my anger better, would be to find out the reason why I'm angry. So, recognize your anger. Where is it coming from? And it's not easy because all our lives we have been taught to just focus on our feelings and our emotions. We do not step back and look at the thought behind it. Right? So, if you're able to look at the thought behind my anger, we'll be able to change. I'll give you an example. Now, suppose my husband promised me that he will be home at 6:30 and take me out to see, maybe to go for a movie. And he doesn't come at 6:30. And his phone is not answerable. I'm going to be like this lady, getting all enraged and angry. He always does this. He always promises and doesn't keep his promise. So my thought is what? I'm looking at my past experiences and saying, oh, he has not kept his promise in the past. He's more busy with his work. That's why he doesn't value me anymore. He doesn't care enough for me. And all these thoughts which come will make me angry. Now, suppose I change that thought and think that, oh, maybe he's gone to Tanishq to buy me that diamond necklace which he had promised. Now am I going to be angry? No, I'll be like, okay, let him take more half an hour because I'm going to get that diamond necklace and he's going to choose a good one for me. I'll be so happy. So the moment I changed my thought, my emotion and feeling changed. When we're looking at anger, let's look at anger as an event. Right? Something happens. Then I have an emotional reaction to what happens. And then I have a response. And one of the responses is anger. So one way of looking at it is, can I accept the situation for what it is? So one way of managing anger is just being mindful, okay, this has happened. Can I just accept it for what it is? Another way is to respond and not react. Can somebody kind of tell me what they understand by responding and what do they understand by reaction? Anybody?
Anyone?
By reacting, we are under the control of our emotions, and by responding, we control our emotions.
So exactly. So reaction is when I'm just quickly an impulsive act. Responding is when I'm taking a pause, thinking about what I want to say, and then answering. So then your ways of taking a sip of water, taking some deep breaths, walking out of the situation. What does it do? It buys time. So you're not reacting and you're responding better. There are some short-term management that you can do when you're very, very angry. One is if you're feeling extremely, and this also helps a lot when you're anxious, is just going and splashing cold water on your face, or taking a cold water shower, or taking a towel, dip it in cold water and keep it at the nape of your neck. What does this do? So, like I explained to you in the beginning, anger is a fight and flight response. That's because of a part of our brain known as the sympathetic nervous system. That's the one which makes me react in a particular way. There is another more logical and calmer part of our brain, which we call as the parasympathetic nervous system. So the parasympathetic nervous system, if I'm able to, activate it, then my anger as an emotion will reduce. So one way is cold temperature. Another way of activating or taking care of anger in a short term is any form of intense exercise. So suppose you're angry with somebody, instead of just getting out of the room, go for a run. Close your door and do some 50 jumping jacks. An intense exercise helps in calming down the anger. The third thing that can help is breathing. Now, when we talk about breathing in anger, we talk about something known as spaced breathing. Don't breathe in like this, because when you do this, automatically my muscles are tightening up, right? And that makes me sometimes more angry. So the breathing that I do has to be calm breathing. So I breathe in to a count of 1, 2, 3. I hold 1, 2, 3. And I can breathe out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So breathe in. Can we all try? So all of you, I know your cameras are off, but you can try in your rooms. Is just breathe in 1, 2, 3. Hold 1, 2, 3. And breathe out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can practice this daily. When you wake up in the morning, before you go to bed at night, it just helps as an exercise for your parasympathetic nervous system. So this is something known as the tip skill, where temperature, intense exercise, and paced breathing helps in short-term management of anger. Anybody has played with this ball? The stress ball, they call it, no? It really helps because you are channelizing your emotions into that ball. Now let's look at how do I manage my anger in the long term, because that's what we need to do. I need to avoid my anger from going to the other end of the spectrum. For that, let's look at 4 things that we can do. One is, can I learn to change my response and behavior? Another thing that we can do is improve my communication skills. The third is timeout strategy, and the fourth is journaling and relaxation. Life is 10% of what happens to me and 90% of how I react to it. Right? This was a study also done in, I think, in Stanford or in Yale. I always talk about this study. So there was a study done about what are the determinants of happiness. How would I know that I am destined to be happy or not? So the study said that happiness quotient 50% is determined by your genes. What else do you think can be the factors that can determine happiness? Anybody?
Yeah.
Choice of being happy. We choose to
Choice of
be
being happy, okay.
Our desires.
Our desires.
When you're peaceful and calm.
When you're peaceful and calm. So very nicely put. So what the study said is 50% is genetics. Only 10% is external circumstances. We usually associate our emotions. So if things go well, if I get what I want, if I achieve the success in my career, if I get this full marks in my exam, if I buy this particular car, then I'll be happy. But studies say no, that contributed to 10%. 40% is my actions and thoughts. So if I choose, like you said, to be calm, to be able to focus on the positive things, then I can be happy. So the same way is with anger. If I am able to change my response and behavior, I'll be able to manage my anger better. What do you do if you get malaria?
Take medicine.
Okay. Will you find the mosquito that caused the problem and kill it?
It would be dead already.
Because it's drunk our blood, huh? So we don't do that, right? We don't find the mosquito and kill it because it caused malaria. What do? Like you said, we will find a solution to the problem. So the mosquito is not the problem. I'm going to take my medication, right? So in the same way, when we want to find solutions, we focus on our thoughts, our actions, and our feelings. Now, how will I change my response? The first step is find out what's going on internally. Like I told you, right? When you're angry or anger as an emotion, try to go back and experience what is it that I am feeling? Am I feeling tired? Am I sleepy today? Am I hungry today? So, what's going on internally? Examine yourself. What are my thoughts? Very, very important to focus and going on the thoughts. And then track your emotions. What are the changes that are happening in your body? Because when you're able to perceive that, you'll be able to bring about the change. And then, can I change these things? Can I change what's going on internally? Can I try to change my thoughts? So then my emotions will get better. And how do we do that? For example, I have had a fight with the CEO of my hospital. He's told me, no, you are not being sincere. You want to go home every day early and you're not doing justice to your job. And I'm very angry because he said all those things to me. Now, before I enter my home, can I notice these difficult thoughts and feelings? Can I name them and say, okay, I'm angry. I'm angry. Why? I'm angry because this person shouted at me. But more than that, I'm angry because he probably, what is the thought behind it? He doubted my competency. He judged the way I was seeing my patients. He was not thinking that I'm sincere. So those things hurt me. So more than anger, actually, I'm hurt. Now, what am I going to do? When I enter this door, I'm noticing that my family is waiting for me at the dinner table. I'm noticing getting angry. and I'm just going to want to blast that anger on these people. But can I pause it for a minute? Can I keep that anger in a compartment? Can I choose to act on my values and engage with my family in a more positive way? So I say I acknowledge that I'm angry. I understand the thoughts and feelings behind the angry, why I'm angry, but I'm now going to just keep it aside for a bit. And this family that's on the dinner table is nothing to do with what happened at work. So can I just consciously choose to act and just have that dinner properly? And it's not easy. I understand. It comes with a lot of practice. So if you feel you have a difficult day, don't come up home immediately. Keep your bag with the watchman and take a 15-minute walk around your building till you have your emotions in control before you get into the lift and get into your home. Because that helps you to turn your negative thoughts to positive. Can I reframe the situation? So, what does that mean? So, is the situation worth getting angry about? Any situation that you are angry about, each one of you can do this as an exercise. Is the situation actually worth getting angry about? Am I really sure that this person is out to hurt me? Or is there any other way to get what I want? So I'm looking at the same situation that's causing me anger in a different perspective. That helps because then we are trying to reframe the situation. A lot of times our issues with anger happen because we're not able to communicate better. So you may be having something very, very relevant and right to say. But because you're so angry and you're shouting and screaming at somebody, and we usually do it at home, either with our parents or with our children or with our spouse. We usually don't scream and shout at workplace. What's happening is maybe what you're saying is perfectly right. But because of the tone and volume with which you're speaking, the content that you're saying is completely negated. Nobody is listening to that. Now, if the same thing that I want to tell you now that we're having this conversation, I'm going to shout and scream at you. No matter how effective my content is, you're not going to listen to me. Because you're just looking at how my eyes are flared up, how my nostrils are flared, my eyes are all open, and I'm waving and angry. You're only focusing on that and not on the content. So, if we as individuals are able to communicate a little better, we'll be able to manage our anger better. An important part of communication is active listening. So, when you're listening to somebody, focus on the speaker without planning your response when they are talking. And this happens a lot in relationships. For example, with your spouse. Now, your spouse is coming back home and talking to you about what happened at work. Now, you love your spouse and you're so keen and eager to just jump in and give your spouse a solution. But that's not what your spouse wants. Your spouse wants you to just listen. He or she may be able to figure out the solution on their own. So, unless they ask you for the solution, don't give it. Listen actively so that you're able to process it. Because the moment you're going to respond, then the person says, "Oh, you never listen to me. You're always giving up your ideas. You're not respecting what I feel." And then the normal conversation moves to another level. Use I phrases. It's very important in conversations with people, especially if you are angry, to say I. So if I tell Pastor Abhijit, you are always wearing this black shirt and I don't like it. What is he going to do? You're going to get defensive and say, I wore black shirt. Why is she so angry? And you're going to get angry with me. But if I say, Pastor Abhijit, I don't like the color black. Maybe you should wear blue. Now the focus is no longer, or the stress is not on Pastor Abhijit. I have made it my problem. So when I tell it to him, he's able to listen and maybe change and say, okay, maybe she doesn't like it. I'll wear blue next time. So when I use I statements, the other person with whom I'm having the conversation is not getting defensive. I did not like the way you spoke that day. As vis-a-vis, you spoke badly that day. I was uncomfortable when this situation happened. So I am using I more than you. It's very difficult. It requires a lot of practice. Like I said, these long-term things require practice. And be mindful of the fact that it is the same sentence. You're conveying the same thing, but you're putting the onus more on you. So the other person is going to listen to you also more in a better way. Assertive communication. A lot of times we are aggressive in our communication, or we are very, very passive. We don't want to say anything. Whatever the other person wants, because I don't want to express myself. So I become very passive. I will acknowledge and say, okay, yes to everything. And then internally, I'm getting angry and angrier and angrier and angrier. So either I can be a passive person or extremely on the other end, assertive, just wanting to always aggressive, always wanting to just do what I feel is right. What we need to do is be assertive. Assertive means what? Expressing yourself openly and honestly while respecting others' rights. And how can I have assertive communication? I think somebody is scribbling on the.
Trying to cover that.
No problem. Identify your communication style. So, as an individual, see how you are communicating. Are you somebody who's passive, will keep everything inside and then have a volcano burst outside? Or are you somebody who's aggressive? Can you identify what kind of communication style you are having? Then recognize what are your triggers. What are the things that annoy you the most? So, can somebody give me an example of one of your triggers? That makes you angry?
Injustice.
Injustice to others. But it's a very general statement, right? In your day-to-day life, what are your triggers?
Trust issues.
Trust.
Plays loud music.
Loud music. When
When your
somebody.
ego is touched. When your ego is touched.
Yeah, no, I was asking a personal example of a trigger that makes you angry.
Using a mobile when talking.
When somebody is using a mobile while talking. So I know what are my triggers. So we have to recognize our triggers. Then what do we need to do? Again, like I said, express your feelings to the other person in your company using I statements. When you do that, the other person is not getting aggressive. So what are these examples like this? I feel frustrated when meetings start late, rather than saying you always start the meeting late. So that makes a difference. The other person is not defensive. Be direct and specific. Be very clear in your communication rather than being very vague about it. Practice saying no. I think Vandana has raised her hand. Is there something that you want to say, Vandana?
Can I ask a question if that is okay?
Can we do the
We
questions
have,
at the end of the session?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we can practice saying no. Usually we are not, it's not easy to say no because most of us are people pleasers. So we want to say yes to everything because we feel if I say yes to everything, everybody will like me, or I feel I can't delegate any work, so I want to do everything. So assertive communication means practice saying no. Set boundaries. Learn to say no without feeling guilty. Politely but firmly decline requests that don't align with your priority and your well-being. One of the reasons that you get angry is when you're overworked and frustrated. And that happens because we are overstretching ourselves and overcommitting to things. So learn to say no. Maybe if you can't do, you can offer that somebody else will do it or allow somebody else to take chances and without compromising on your needs. Maintain a very open body language. A body language, anger is an emotion when you're expressing a lot of non-verbal communication is important. So how is my body language is very important when I'm having assertive communication. So, not crossing the arms, not standing with hands on your hips. All these things portray anger. So stand or sit up straight, make eye contact, and open body language where the other person feels you're ready to engage in a positive communication. Control your tone of voice, because we can be really sarcastic with our tones, or we can be very, very defensive in our tones. So speak in a very calm and steady voice. Another important aspect of communication, and that to assertive communication, is how to handle criticism. So you have to learn to accept constructive feedback. Listen to feedback given by somebody without becoming defensive. Hear that person out. And then thank that person for their input. You may or may not agree, but at least listen to it objectively and go back and reflect on what that person has said. And respond very calmly if you don't agree. So you don't have to get angry and shout at the person. You assertively say, I disagree with your opinion about this thing, without becoming confrontational. The third thing is timeout strategies. And when I was asking, a lot of you said about timeout strategies, right? So what are these timeout strategies? Leave the room. If you're in a space with somebody and you're getting angry, and I'm going to stand there and start counting or breathing, the more I see the person, the more I'm going to get angry. And that anger from getting annoyed may go to me punching that person. So depending on how you're feeling with that anger, leave the room, go into the washroom, go into your bedroom, take a pillow, scream into that pillow, but learn to regulate that emotion. So another way is going into the room and screaming into a pillow when you're very, very angry. Counting and breathing helps when the intensity of the anger is a little less. So somebody said counting backwards, counting in your fingers, breathing. But I always recommend as adults to try to do this away from the person that you are angry with. Because like I said, if you're seeing that person, you are going to get more and more agitated and not able to practice any of these breathing and counting. Relaxation techniques. So these relaxation techniques are not techniques that you're going to do when you're angry. These are relaxation techniques that you practice on a daily basis so that you're able to regulate your anger. Journaling helps in identifying my thoughts. Most of us function from the level of our emotion.
The audio dropped, I think, slightly.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
So most of us are functioning, like I told you, from our feelings and emotions. We don't focus on our thoughts. We're never taught to look back at our thoughts. But when you're journaling, it helps in kind of free flow of thoughts happen. Make it a practice daily of writing down everything that you're going through, all your thoughts, all your emotions.
Oh, sorry. The screen, I think, went away.
I think you disabled.
Yeah. I was trying to erase the scribble.
No problem. So, like I said about the journaling, you can learn to.
You can share it again?
Yeah. No, you're still disabled.
Oh, one second.
So, anybody who maintains a journal? Anybody in the audience?
I do.
And what do you write in your journal, ma'am?
You could try and
I write what's happening within me, my inner response to what happens on a daily basis.
Okay.
Just incidents, not so much the incident, but my inner reaction or response to it.
Very nice. So that's a very good thing to do. So writing a journal is a very good exercise. I always recommend that when you're writing a journal, you can also kind of end the journal with gratitude. So usually if anybody has a practice of writing a journal, you end your journal entry with one or two things of gratitude. And So what I mean by gratitude is, I know that we have an audience which is a secular audience, right? People from different religions, and every religion teaches us to be grateful for what we have. When I'm talking about journaling and gratitude, it's not about that. It's about writing down 2 experiences of the day that you are grateful for. So when you're written down your journal, we have written down everything that has gone wrong. You've written down all your negative thoughts or positive thoughts. You always end it with 2 things in the day that you have been grateful for. I have been grateful that I was able to go for a football match today morning to watch my son play. I was grateful that I got to meet a friend and go for coffee. Or I was grateful that today I got half an hour to watch TV on my own without any noise at home. Something specific of that particular day. What does it do? It helps our brain to sieve through our emotions and focus on the positive. Because we usually, as human beings, tend to focus on the negative things that happen around us. So, journaling is one very good relaxation technique. The other thing is something known as progressive muscle relaxation. If you Google this, you'll get a lot of YouTube videos on progressive muscle relaxation. What it basically means is like the word progressive. So you progress from your leg to your head, and muscle relaxation. So you have to tighten your muscles. For example, if it's your feet, you will tighten your feet. You will count to 1, 2, and 3. Then you'll relax your feet, counting 1, 2, and 3. While we are doing this, you must remember that your breathing has to be normal. You won't do this breathing when you are tightening your muscles. With normal breathing, contraction, relaxation, and you go moving upwards. Mindfulness practices, being in the moment. For example, when you're brushing your teeth, we say we don't have time to do meditation. Do it while you're brushing your teeth. Just be mindful of the paste, of the taste. You know, आपकी toothpaste में नमक है कि नहीं? How many of us know if our toothpaste has namak? We don't even know what my toothpaste tastes like. Because when I'm brushing, I'm also going and waking up the children. I'm also putting the water on the gas for the tea. I'm also packing my bag. So can I use that time when I'm having 2 minutes in the morning, when I'm brushing my teeth, to be a little bit more mindful? Or can I drive in silence with calming music? Can I exercise without music or TV? There is a new concept known as popcorn brain. Anybody knows what you mean by popcorn brain? Anybody? You know what is a popcorn?
The need for constant frequent stimulation in some way or the other. So the
Correct.
tendency to look
when
at
you
your
see-
phone every now and then.
So when you see how a popcorn, when you are making popcorn at home, it's constantly bursting, no? Popping. In the same way, because of our exposure to screens and we want to do so many things together, we are unable to sit down and not do anything. So if I'm just sitting and don't have a presentation to make, or I don't have anything to teach my children, it's impossible for me to keep this down and not scroll. Whether we are at an airport, whether we are waiting outside a doctor's room, we have forgotten how to just sit still. So then that's how it impacts our brain. So can I exercise without music or TV, just focusing on breathing? Can I relax when I get my kids to bed? So can I practice that mindfulness, let's say 5 minutes a day? So at the end of our anger management session, what we need to look at is, let's focus on our brain and its health. Understand and emotions and thoughts are important. Getting angry is also important, but we learn to normalize these emotions. Working on managing our anger both on short-term and long-term basis. On short-term, we use the tip skill. Accept the situation. Respond, don't react. And how to learn to manage our thoughts by focusing on them. We can reframe a situation. We communicate better by improving our listening skills. And how do we have assertive communication? When I'm using I statements, better body language, learning to say no, handling criticism constructively, effective timeout strategies, learning relaxation techniques. I am not what happened to me, I am what I choose to become. So, thank you very much, and I'll stop sharing and then we can take the question answers.
Yes, sure.